to take it on and put that inventory together for us. So it's like, it's just, I'm just holding the space for this thing to emerge in a way that I have no clue how it's going to play out. So here we go. And Good of the Whole would end up being we would become, we'll own all these properties. Good of the Whole will own physical assets that will be in, hundreds of thousands of apartments across the world. So just kind of want you to kind of get how this might play out for us. And so it's emerging. I don't know. We'll find out how it goes.
Can I ask a question, Glenn? Because I have to answer to Loving Waters. I love the DBA idea. It sounds really in alignment with being part of the whole. But I need to understand why we're doing the DBAs instead of fiscal sponsorships.
Fiscal sponsorships is another category of things we could do. Now, as a fiscal sponsor, we are not taking on the management and leadership of that organization. So that organization exists itself. We're keeping the books and the financial accounting for that association. Right. But in Loving Waters, you are, you Shelley would be the CEO, founder, holder of that space.
As a fiscal sponsor or as a DBA?
As a fiscal sponsor. If we're the fiscal sponsor, the organism is its own separate entity that we keep the books of.
So
as a DBA, we are one and the same.
Just a different expression of it.
It's a different expression of it. As a DBA, Ohana Legacy Foundation is the same as Good of the Whole. It's just an expression of Good of the Whole.
It's an expression of Good of the Whole.
That I'm the current manager of.
But okay, I'm sorry.
When I'm no longer the current manager, the Good of the Whole Council, you guys would appoint someone else to be the manager of that expression.
Oh, hold on. So Good of the Whole would, if it's a DBA.
Correct.
So.
But as a fiscal sponsor.
Which one has the most?
Like a cedar tree in our aspen forest. So Good of the Whole is this aspen forest with all these trees that are Good of the Whole, doing business as all these other brands, and a cedar tree pops up in the middle. So if we're just the fiduciary agent, just the fiscal sponsor, it's like a cedar tree in the middle of the aspen trees. Now,
but as a DBA, it would be all the aspen trees. Somebody put their on.
I can't figure out how to put that on mute because my phone's on mute, but it's coming on my computer for some reason.
Oh God, I figured out how to do that. That was happening to me.
So, Glenn, the one thing I told Shelley, and maybe you can help clarify this further, is that speaking from the side of Good of the Whole as us, instead of the side of Ohana or Loving Waters, that as Good of the Whole, having an organization come on as a DBA and be Good of the Whole doing business as Loving Waters, a DBA gives us what I shared, this is just my opinion, is that we have less exposure. Our E&O insurance, our organization it would be a contractual arrangement, what have you, but if you come in as a DBA, you're a part of the family. There's a different kind of communication. There's a different kind of, you do have to stay in resonance. You do have agreements with us. You do have to operate in a certain way to be a part of this Aspen family. Right. If we're just a fiscal agent of you, we're just receiving funds, taking some and paying them out to you, and you're like less than a stepchild, actually, less than a stepchild. You're like the neighbor who's borrowing sugar every once in a while. It's like that. So a DBA really brings an organization into our fold and allows total autonomy, distributed leadership, sovereignty in a way, but is completely aligned with the DNA and the mimetic coding, like the aspen trees. They're all a certain species in the forest.
Right.
So, ooh, I like that. That's a good way of saying it too.
What was the last thing you said? Aligned with the DNA and mimetic.
And the mimetic coding, like for example, that we are the aspen trees in the forest. We know that as DBAs come in, they're a part of the aspen grove, and yet they're not a cedar tree. You know, the needs aren't different or outside of the collective whole.
Yeah.
They're still all a part of a superorganism though. So we want to welcome whatever, or maybe we don't. Maybe we could say, no, we really don't want to be a fiscal agent. But to me, it feels there is more intimate alignment with an organization that wants to be a DBA that's coming in that way.
Okay.
Or function in a different way.
Okay, so I like the way you spoke about it, but like, you know, I want to be able to explain it. So I'm not going to go to someone and go, oh, you're going to be like the aspen trees, and that, you know, I mean, that's not funny.
Well, as a DBA, you guys could fire me. Okay.
Okay, so if Loving, could you do me a favor? Let's talk about Loving Waters, because Loving Waters is an existing, ongoing. They want their, let's just say they want their autonomy as Loving Waters, and so they don't want to be under rule. I'm just coming. This is how I'm thinking. They want to be in alignment with Good of the Whole, be working with Good of the Whole, loving being connected to Good of the Whole, but like what I just heard was like, okay, as an example, if I'm the founder of Loving Waters, you're saying Good of the Whole could go, hey, we don't like what you're doing, and
if Loving Waters were to be a DBA.
Right, that's what I'm asking you. I'm trying to.
That's right. That's right. If Loving Waters were to become a DBA, Loving Waters, assuming, you know, you don't have your own 501c3 status. Does Loving Waters have its own corporate status?
No, nothing. No. So, right. I'm just learning how to explain it. I just want to understand how to explain it. So
since Loving Waters has no entity, no corporate
right.
status, it can become a DBA of Good of the Whole.
Right. I got that.
But in that it's a different kind of expression from just to be a physical sponsor. Loving Waters will need to create their own corporate expression in whatever state they're going to be in. Loving Waters Inc. I mean, Good of the Whole is Good of the Whole Incorporated in the state of Nebraska.
Right.
That's our official legal designation.
Yeah.
And Good of the Whole would need Loving Waters would need to create that in whatever state you want to do it in. And then we simply keep your books.
No, right. I totally, we've been doing it for 3 years or 2 years or whatever.
But how does Loving Waters file its income tax return?
Well,
if you haven't done that,
no,
we need to look at.
This is the first year it actually has to. So, and I'm right now, I just gave up, and it's it's me, Loving Waters. I mean, first of all, it's not a lot of money that's been coming in. We just started to set up the membership. So right now I have Loving Waters, and I'm going to have to file for it right now. You know, that's why I'm asking really specifically.
So it's really a sole proprietorship.
It's the sole proprietorship right now, only because no one else, everybody refused to take on the money. And it was just like, all of a sudden we were making these amazing, you know, in relationship with, you know, those Blue Bottle Love, and we started getting donations. So it's still donations coming in, or well, not necessarily, but so anyway, I just wanted to be able to explain. I love the DBA idea, but I want to, and maybe, you know, it's more of
on a call with you and explain it to the council, to Loving Waters.
Right.
The part that we have to look at as the poll is, would we want to be a fiscal agent for someone that's not incorporated right now?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, I think when I'm listening to it, I mean, I think this is the organism's focal point is doing the DBAs because, and like as an example, I walked with someone, Julie Smith, 2 days ago, and she has the Foundation for Hope or something like that she wants to create, and she was all perturbed about having to be a 501c3, and I just told her about what we were doing. She was like, "Oh my God, this is exactly what I've been looking for." So someone like that just doesn't have a concern about. They just want their foundation. They want to be running their own foundation. So that is perfect. Loving Waters, okay, it's Elizabeth, really concerned about the autonomy and, is in her letting go process, let's put it this way. And so when you said doing business as, good to the whole, doing business as Loving Waters. So I think just to end this, I think Julie's right. I think if you would agree to come on our next council call and explain this piece to those members so that everyone can be on board and go, yeah, this is what we want to do.
That'd be a good thing. Julie and I both probably should be there if we can, and I'm happy to.
Yeah.
It's a different conceptualization of an organization structure.
Right.
And so again, in the big corporation world, it's like AT&T owning having a division that does car rentals.
Right. And the reason, I mean, obviously they're all loving it because you've got Charlie who's on the council and Elizabeth who's on the council, Maya who is learning about this through, is connected to Jose. And, so anyway, we don't need to go in specifics. I'm just going to let you know when the call is. And at least, Glenn, if you would come on and see if we can make that work.
Sure, I'm happy to. And from Good to the Whole's perspective, we want to make sure, we want to do a little due diligence ourselves as a council to make sure that the person we're putting in charge of this branch is capable of acting in resonance, in integrity, in doing work for the good of the whole in a way that we feel aligned with, because they are a representation of us.
So we're looking for, what would you call this person that we're looking for?
Well, the person who comes in from Loving Waters, for instance, they're a representation of us. And so is it a person that's has that level of integrity?
Sorry, I'm having a little moment here.
So we have to kind of put the two hats on, right? We have you and I and Linda, in this case, are for whatever it is, but because as a doing business as, they are doing business as us.
So they have to be, right.
I'm
laughing because
good representation of us.
I'm just laughing because you know who that person is. I'm going like, anyway,
and it may be that there may be some, we need to we have a responsibility to ensure the resonant field is who we choose it to be. Okay. And if for some reason they're doing a DBA and some event happens and they don't represent us as a way, we have an ultimate responsibility to remove that person.
See, that's where if you say that to Elizabeth, it's going to go south. But anyway, thank you.
We're also removing the organization, removing that arm branch and letting it go again. We could just, I mean, it wouldn't be that we're going to take Loving Waters and without, but it would be, we have to act in integrity for the good of the whole. And I think this is another good place to just drop in the Elizabeth thing. We won't get through all my 9 things today, but so
can I finish something first before you go there?
Yeah.
Okay. So number 1 is, we're talking about Loving Waters because Loving Waters is the first one that's knocking on the door. For me, Julie is beside Glenn and Pachamama, and I've got Julie knocking on the door, right? So that's why we're using it as examples. And truthfully, there isn't a really worry because I'm the initiator of Loving Waters. Like, it's not going south. It's not, like, we're not going to hand it over to Elizabeth right now, and we're going to have I'm going to have a conversation that supports the larger vision. I want to see Loving Waters in here. It belongs here. It's, and now you can go ahead and talk about Elizabeth, because she's just the perfect bubble that's happening, that we have to be, we'll have people, there's a Ken, and then there's an Elizabeth, and right now Elizabeth is going overboard with her.
So let's just put that on hold for just a second and see if there's any other questions about the DBA from John or Linda before we move forward. Is that clear? And we still can bring another existing nonprofit in. We still can bring another LLC in. We still can bring other kinds of corporations in, and we still could become a sovereign church out in Never Never Land. And so the question right now is about fundraising and what happens if someone in Europe wants to donate. Can they get tax deductions for them to donate to a Nebraska nonprofit? So that's our next question with the accountant. And if not, I have a couple tricks up my sleeve of how we might remedy that. But we don't need to go into that yet. But what we're looking at is if we bring in, like, say, Whole Worldview and Jude Currivan under the umbrella as a DBA. So all of a sudden, Whole Worldview's a good of the whole doing business as Whole Worldview. Then they're mostly UK centered. They're very UK centered. And so having that relationship, how would it benefit them? So that's what we're working on next, is that international flavor. And I'm going to talk to the president of URI and ask how they're doing it, because they're a US international organization. How do they do it when they receive donations?
Or Tree Sisters, they do the same thing. They're a UK receiving from the US. So,
and what I'll throw into that is it depends on the country that the company is, the people are in. It's their laws, not ours.
Right.
So they're donating to a nonprofit that happens to be in the United States, but it's the UK law that will govern whether they can deduct it or not. And even our laws are much, I don't write off most of the donations that I make, because I don't qualify, I don't have enough income to justify the write-off. And our tax laws just changed recently, and the tax deductibility of donations has
it doesn't take long to hit that cap anyway. So most people are already over that cap when they're donating, unless they're a very big philanthropist. But
yeah.
Okay. So
I have one last question about this, because how can we even move forward unless you have a person has the capacity to run this aspect of the organization? Like, Glenn, are you saying that I know what Julie's doing. Are you saying, I don't see us taking in anybody. I mean, right now I know that you're just getting the information, but the moment you open that doorway, you have to have someone who's willing to, and who knows what they're doing. And I get, Glenn, that you're in the process of discovering it, but it sounds like we have to have a nameable person who is actually going to take this aspect on. That is at least how I'm listening to it. Am I correct or not?
As a DBA, thinking about it as a DBA, I'm taking on the Ohana Legacy Foundation, and so that's my thing. But and technically, it looks like I'm an employee of Good of the Whole, in a technical way.
And I think what you're saying, Shell, is when we got off the phone with the attorney, I said to Glenn, we can't just recruit anyone to be a director or a manager of this, because they really have to know this higher level. And I said to him in a weak moment, and maybe it wasn't a weak moment, but I said, if I were the CEO, I could totally do this with administrative support. Like, if we had the administrative support there that's doing the work of all the other things that have to get done managing details and administrative support. Or we're going to have to recruit someone really special. And there are those people out there that get it, that understand it, and that's fine. And having an attorney come in, maybe we could recruit Dan to be part of our advisory council and volunteer his time as well. And we will get more complex and we will get more complicated. As we build the superorganism, the most important piece is that we have to be remunerated for what we're doing. We cannot build this for free. We just can't sustain the organism without the income coming in, which building it that way will create the income. If Ohana takes off and we're getting 10% of the proceeds as they're donating, that's going to help. But it is going to take oversight and incredible bookkeeping, and perhaps we're going to have to hire a bookkeeper accountant to be on staff once we're really cooking, which will be fine. We can do that. But to begin with, we just really need those right people in place, and we need administrative support to help with the details of daily living.
And everything that the Ohana Legacy Foundation income that comes in, all of it goes into Good of the Whole. All of it. I mean, it's part of that. And then I'll have my own bookkeeping team. I'll have my own, management team that we pay out to.
That Good of the Whole pays out to, is that correct? Or is
Right.
it?
Good of the Whole, because Good of the Whole and Ohana are one. Just has a different label, a different
He
name.
has his budget. He's like a department. He's
Like
like
a
a department director within it. And so then he'll have his budget and he'll have his fundraising, and yeah.
And just to kick this off, I mean, it costs us about $150 to initiate a trade name legally in the state of Nebraska. And so, me as coming in to do this, I'll of course cover that expense, and there ought to be probably something more. I ought to pay something like $500 or to initiate this activity, so that there's money that covers those filing fees and a little administrative support, and then we go and we rock.
So is that for everybody who, like, if everybody who comes in would be paying? Julie said it was 100, but you're saying it's 100, 150.
Well, we have to pay $100 state filing fee to the state of Nebraska, and we have to pay whatever it costs to run an ad in the local Minden newspaper.
Which is like this.
One time, I mean, it's just like a classified ad.
Right.
And then, and then the time to have done that for somebody to deal with it. So, maybe it's, our actual cost might be $250 or 200, but we can set that number of whatever we feel like it ought to be. And I just came up with 500 because it was just a nice round number, and it puts a little extra money in the kitty. And if somebody can't come up with $500 to blend into our organization, then maybe that's a threshold. Maybe it ought to be $1,000. I don't know.
Well, that would blow Loving Waters out of the water, probably.
So to speak.
Well,
I'm not saying that.
Again, we're in beta testing of this, beta testing.
We're just figuring out the language of it. How do we even
Right.
talk
I mean,
about
we want to make it happen, and we want to make it, and maybe that's a part of looking at a fiscal sponsorship. But, I think probably you can do both if you really want to. And a fiscal sponsorship is going to bring in the same 10% that a DBA. Maybe somebody starts with the fiscal sponsorships and moves into the DBA. I don't know. But I think at this point, actually, I wouldn't just say that, Julie. $500 will blow, because, there are people on that within the council that do have money, and it's a matter of what is the money going for. So, and there's money in in Loving Waters as well. But I have till July to figure it out.
Exactly.
And I'll check with our general liability insurance too, because once we went nonprofit, we had to shift that a bit, and we're a different kind of organism that not a lot of people well, we're very unique. And so we have our general liability insurance through my wonderful, amazing son. And I'll talk to him because maybe the fiscal agent's a little bit different, fiscal sponsorship with a carrier, our insurance carrier. So we'll check with that. And our E&O coverage, E&O is errors and omission of the board of directors. So I'll check on that too. That'll be another piece.
Okay.
With how we fit that together as we start to build this thing, grow this thing. So,
Awesome.
But thank you. That was a really long, but that helps a lot. And I think it's a good weeding out of helping to understand. Thank you.
And I sent all of you last week, I think I sent you the latest document expression of the Ohana Legacy Foundation.
Thank you.
And I think anybody who comes in probably needs to create some kind of a document like that
Mhm.
that describes their mission, their purpose, what they're doing, how it is, and then we look at that and see how we feel about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd like a minute when there's time.
It's your turn.
Okay, so,
about the DBA, about the DBA.
no, about the DBA.
Okay,
Oh,
yeah, go ahead.
So a number of years ago, I was a DBA called Affinity Homes for a manufactured home operation called, and actually it was in Nebraska.
You know what? Wouldn't that be weird if it's Wardcraft right here in Minden, Nebraska?
Well, let me tell you, I didn't do it with Wardcraft. I did it with Heritage Homes.
Okay.
Okay,
They're a little farther northeast, but close.
they're a little farther northeast.
Yeah.
So then I called it a mindset. Now I call it a heart set. It's in a complete advantage for someone to come in and be a DBA under a larger organization. Good of the whole may benefit some, but and so I really, this is my own internal stuff, and I'm still working it. This is where I'm still a little clamped down. This whole thing around autonomy, maintaining autonomy, is a mindset, I'll say a heart set, that keeps separation there.
Yeah.
And that it's almost like there's a heart set that the advantage is going to not be part of the whole. And I gotta say, and it's been bugging me for a few times, but it really got me this morning. And I don't want to point anybody out because I know
you can. We're here to talk about it. You can here, nowhere else.
We'll keep it in our DBA idea, whatever we're talking
keep
about.
it within the DBA idea, and that is, we'll use Glenn's. Ford Motor Corporation, Mercury comes in, and in board meetings, in larger context, they only refer to Mercury as their primary, above and beyond the good of the whole, and maintain that and take time, energy, frequency that doesn't come off of their line in order to bring it in to a larger energetic structure. And I got to get over that and know that there's a way to incorporate that. But then it becomes not a DBA anymore. It's really not, I am good of the whole, providing this function that supports the whole. There's a separation there, and what it does in our meeting, in our meetings, is it diminishes the general resonance and focuses. And I got to tell you that the water thing, we had 20 to 25 people on this call, and all of a sudden it was about whatever anybody else brought in, it had to be run through the water piece. And it was like, not good.
Okay.
Oriana went into a 15-minute discussion on the mechanics of water, which is great. I mean, I loved every minute of it, but it was not in resonance with where we are. And I hate to have a problem, but it was a problem.
Well,
I think you're the perfect person to talk to, Elizabeth.
and let me stay with it for the DBA kind of thing about like Ohana. So one of the things we as the leadership of Good of the Whole, we want to make sure that upon the other hand, as the Ohana Foundation, the Ohana Legacy expression, appropriately makes that connection to Good of the Whole, as Mercury as a representation of the Ford Motor Company, as that expression is linked and expressed in a way that we all are comfortable with, and that again, you're looking to create the model for how we language this and do this is really kind of where we are. With how do we create this distributed leadership structure in a way that intertwines all of our roots of the forest, for global good, and ties this together. And then how is it we maintain? I guess I'll maintain discipline between the branches, and collaborative communication, so that the forest stays healthy.
With
Yeah.
someone like Ohana Legacy, I know that your mission statement would even say providing help, blah, 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 housing, for the good of the whole.
Right.
And it's like, it's in your DNA. And I know Shelley, as a leader of Loving Waters, would totally see the activity of Loving Waters for the good of the whole.
Right.
And so this comes down to a personality piece. And this piece has been a long time pattern of Elizabeth since Barbara Marx Hubbard days, when we first came in as mentoring stewards. And then there's Oriana. So John, I'm just going to give you a shout out. I texted Shelley before you did and said, oh my gosh,
Oh, good.
we're now having a water course. And
Yeah.
Elizabeth for 15 minutes, then Oriana for 15 minutes. From
Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
in science, and not in a resonant field, and didn't even address Ken's question he brought in.
Not at all.
He brought in this question, and Elizabeth took off, and then Oriana was like, great, now I can teach. And so I said, Shelley, this is happening. But you did a beautiful job just redirecting that. But they both then got off video and were quiet for a while.
No, I felt there was an energy shift there.
Yeah, and Oriana never came back on. But did you feel the opening with everybody else? Like my chest just opened now thinking about it. It's like everybody else went, and then, wow, back to love. And it was just this beautiful love fest again. Remember when we said this was going to be a love-a-thon or a love fest?
It was.
Once you did that, everybody had room to come back in authenticity and awareness and resonance, and just be with that field and follow the thread again. So, yeah, this is an important question, bringing it back to the DBA and the leadership, that if Shelley and Elizabeth are co-leading Loving Waters, are co-managing Loving Waters, then the five of us in this council can trust Shelley to...
It's not going to happen until, so I love that you're saying that. And also, like there's some places where I just have to give it to the field. Like, this is like happening, and Elizabeth needs to be embraced. And Elizabeth's voice hasn't got, all she's doing is powering through. And I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it. So basically I had a conversation with her, and it was immediate defensiveness, immediate, like, if you're telling me to, whatever. So And then I can't remember how I got her to come into the field. Once she got that feeling, then she got it. But she's not getting it enough to not keep carrying it in. And she did it with Jose. You know, luckily that's an arena that she can do it with. And she knows not to go on and on and on because it's not going to happen. So, or I'm going to cut her off, but break in lovingly or whatever. But I feel like, so I guess I just want to put this out. Because the one thing that she said is, if someone's having an issue with me, can they just talk to me directly? And so, and I think, you know, I don't, obviously I said, John, okay, this is your thing to do, as if you're feeling this, but dance break. Dance break. So, yeah, so basically, I would just like to, you know, ultimately she needs help. Ultimately she needs help, or the organism is going to kick her out or she's going to kick herself out because she cannot come in and preach and teach. And she obviously, I asked her, I explained to her, like, you can feel it, you know, you are coming in and you're trying to take over and you're teaching people about water. Teach them on the funny thing is she has her 1 hour and she doesn't even do it. She doesn't even use that as a teaching tool. So any case, I need help with that. If anyone wants to offer something towards that, or, I mean.
Are you pointing to Linda?
I'm pointing to Linda. Linda, will you take that into your
I think Linda
tonight and overcome?
No, because Linda wasn't on her call with her. Were you on that call?
No. I'm asking Linda to take this topic into the Japamala and overcoming obstacles.
Oh, perfect.
What we're asking, that's one thing. John can still talk to her. I'm just asking Linda to take it to the Japa.
So it's really about not being seen, because all that's happening is the pendulum swinging wide, and it's just from feeling like she hasn't been seen. And this just goes for the whole world, for the whole, like, it's people who are coming in who all of a sudden feel this amazing love, and they're all about the love, but their egoic energy hasn't been integrated. And even in Elizabeth, I mean, bottom line is Elizabeth had a thing with Julie going from Barbara Marx Hubbard, and it's not just with Julie, it is her archetype that she's trying to work out about being seen, and so she can't tell, she's infantile, and so it's really about that sense of how do we relax. She can't relax. So whatever you do with that, Linda, do it.
Okay. Okay, now let me throw this, and I bet you Julie and I are probably teamed up on this more than anybody else. I was a psychotherapist because I was a psychotherapist for 25 years. In any group situation, and I ran a lot of groups, people with personality disorders, and that's a terrible old term. I never liked it very much, but the best/worst way to ruin group cohesion is someone with a borderline personality disorder. Okay, that's the worst. Then there are other categories of personality disorders that really have to be dealt with. And not, I'm seeing this, it doesn't surprise me at all. Yeah, I could name numerous people that are attendees of our groups that haven't resolved some basic psyche issues. And so their open heart, which is also there, is actually in a little bit of a conflict with their personality disorder. And so it has to be dealt with, because we're going to see it all the time. I mean, if we think, now we're dealing with 10, 15, 20, 25 people, wait till it gets to be 100 or 200. We're going to have personality disorders all over the place. How do we deal with this in the moment? This is like a brand new, along with DBAs, this is another piece that's gonna, in our incredible residence and beauty that we're seeing now, we're gonna have to have a mechanism to deal with this.
The mechanism is love, and the mechanism is,
I know.
Right? So I just ask you, honestly, and we can talk more about it. I'm actually going to ask you, because you had the experience. It has to be someone who's in the experience. It's not separate from someone talking about, I've heard this from somebody else. See,
What do you say, buddy?
Merlin was right. Did you? Everyone saw that. That was, all of a sudden, Merlin's hand came down, patting you on his shoulder. That was hilarious. So I actually am going to ask you, and we can talk about it. And I would like to encourage this, because you have the love. It has to be someone who's loving. And you have the wisdom, and you have the resonance, and you have the psychological background to maybe have a phone call with her just from, hey, I was experiencing this and I want to call you out of the love to support, but this is my experience. And interesting enough, it probably needs to be a male, because it's in her DNA. And
Okay.
thank you very much.
And this is where
Check that one off. We're good.
This is where we have the revolutionary agreements.
What?
We have our revolutionary agreements.
Yeah, John hasn't
what?
talked about that yet.
I don't know about that.
I would love for us to do a little workshop on the revolutionary agreements and adopt our agreements moving forward. We really need to do that. Even if we adopt them as the 12 as they are, Linda could lead us, Glenn could lead us, and we could tweak anything that we feel, but that would be a really good thing. Maybe we could do that next week even.
I'll be part of that.
You will be a part of that.
No,
Your choice.
And
No choice.
Really?
Sharon Hardy was also in my class. We were with Glenn. So, we
I
could,
think that would be a beautiful offering from Good of the Whole.
the three of us could break it up into the 3 different sections.
And do it for 3 weeks.
Well, we could do it for the mentoring stewards, but I'm talking about the 5 of us in guiding the DBAs forward, guiding the superorganism forward, that we know we're in full alignment with the codes for a healthy earth. Boom, there's one piece. We know that we need revolutionary agreements of some sort. Boom, these are our agreements. So we have that in the field. So yes. Would you guys like
They're there for the tweaking and
Let's
changing.
tweak them.
That's what they're for.
Well, the funny thing is, Julie, we have tweaked them at least twice now.
Mhm.
And
We
we
took
even have a document, by the way, about the agreements.
But we started with the co-creators agreements.
Oh, no, right.
But
That's
off
right.
of the revolutionary agreements.
Right. We incorporated both of them. Yeah.
Yeah, we did. So we could pull that out and just tweak what we had. And then we need to get it on the website and boom. But it would be nice to give Marian credit there and put it on our website and encourage that with some links too. So,
Well,
Okay.
both sets of agreements came from the Geneva group.
yeah.
I love it.
They're all the co-created. It's all the same.
Well, that's going to give me this gives me a lot of incentive to read Marian's book because I have a copy of it. So
You should. do that.
yeah, and then the other
You
thing.
think you do.
What? Oh, you have. Man, I'm telling you. When are you coming
You
home?
have to go up the mountain.
But you'll be back on Thursday.
You are coming back on Thursday? You're leaning in that direction, I know. She's silent.
It's a powerful book to read out loud.
If you had any idea what was going on today. But yes, I'm going to be on the plane. I'm going to do it. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm coming.
So let me just say one more thing. It's great to have agreements. I'm going past to a past experience of mine that we, in one of the groups that we had agreements. There also has to be a recognition by those agreeing to the agreements that if there's a variation and the agreements aren't kept, that there will be a possibility for not confrontation, but an acknowledgement that, hey, here's the agreement. It's not, and that gives us a really open, like talking to Elizabeth. If the agreements are there, I could go in and say, let's you and I sit down and let's go over this agreement and see how in our heart open space we can bring that agreement into its highest order, into its highest frequency.
So you know what, for me, one of the most, they're all important, and it'll be interesting to take a look at Glenn, the book. But it's when there is any issue, you go directly to the person.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that in itself allows for the healing to take place, right? And if you remember, we called upon that in the retreat.
Ha 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 ha.
Sorry.
That's so funny.
I think I
That
missed.
was the first time I respected you, though. Let me tell you. Called me right out on the carpet. I go,
Oh yeah, I remember that moment.
I said, all right, that girl's got balls.
We're not doing that here.
We're not doing that here. I go, okay.
And I'm going to offer it's really important to call me on the agreements as the Ohana Legacy Foundation. When I'm doing whatever I'm doing and however that evolves, if you see anything, it's like you got to come and because that's the only way I can experience some kind of growth from it, you know. So
I want us to all call each other on it.
you've got
I mean, when I'm out of line, say, hey, let's take a look at this.
I love this so much. And it was actually in that moment that I realized, oh my God, we didn't have Mary, here's Marion and Glenn. We didn't even bring in the revolutionary agreements into that space. So I love this. And that's really all that anybody needs to get is that there's such a level of loving integrity and willingness to, you know, as Grace says, stand in the love, you know, stand in the love. And the agreements aren't there as, oh, you're going to be punished, but they're there for to enhance the space that allows for the resonance to happen in. Really, it's just part of that. So
And we want it to be really simple as the superorganism is growing, that we have agreements and you're in alignment with the codes, and therefore you're about these three things, you know, living for the good of the whole systems health and a whole worldview as we're cultivating an ethos of wholeness. And so make it really simple, really pristine, and people can find themselves coming in.
Yeah.
So I have two more brief things.
Great.
And we have 2 or 3 more minutes left. Are we good with DBA, and are we good with John meeting with Elizabeth, and we're good moving forward? And yes? Okay. So I'll just make 2 quick announcements, and I won't do the longer. Oh, I have 3 things because one we'll have.
I got one thing first. Congratulations, Julie, on your book.
Yay! Accolades.
What is the superpower, students? Did we do that? We did that at the retreat 3 years ago. Remember, we were doing that in the living room where you have to stand in your superpower stance. Do you remember that, Shelley? No?
No, yeah, I do remember. I don't remember who started that, though. I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember who did it, but thank you. Thank you. A squirrel's running toward me right when you said that. That's pretty cool. Thank you. That's one of my things that I'll just say really quickly is I invited Shelley into an idea. A friend of mine came who's not a mentoring steward, who's not in Good of the Whole, and said, I want to organize a virtual book tour with you because you need to celebrate this and you can't do a book tour. And part of the award is all these book fairs that they invite the authors into, this international, which is really cool. And all of them have been postponed because of COVID. And she's like, let's have a virtual book tour. And I'm like, that'd be awesome. But let me ask Good of the Whole if they want to help organize a virtual book tour. And perhaps just do a little event every day for a week or something that will help celebrate that mile mark. So y'all want to help with a virtual book tour or a celebration of some sort or a party? I don't know what we should do. But
you come up with it, I'm all in.
On board.
I think, I've been thinking about it, the experience of an online retreat, but we could do something that had the feeling of like being together. I mean, it just feels like it's more than just a Zoom room, but it is a Zoom room. And maybe it's like Linda's in Indiana and Glenn's in Hawaii and John's in wherever you are, and, Boulder, and somehow we can, I don't know what it looks like, but it's something like that. I mean, that it feels like it's a homey kind of celebrating this book and reading certain pieces out. Maybe you're reading certain pieces out of it, but one day we're in Indiana, and one day we're in Boulder, and one day we're in Hawaii. It kind of give it a uniqueness to it. So yeah.
Sounds like it's an hour in the connection field every day for a week.
But in a different place, like we're in Indiana, and
Right. Well, whoever.
And maybe that would be like
Let's see.
Linda would host the Tuesday gathering coming from Indiana and invite some Indiana people, but the idea of, I hear what you're saying, and then maybe each of you would host it.
and bring in like call people and send out an email to the people who are in that area, or alert. Even we can alert the bookstores in the area that this is would you like to inviting them to be part of it. I mean, I don't see what, like I could send an email or call, this place or that place. And anyway, it's definitely a good idea. And, but also I thought of, we could do it not in the connection field, but we could do it in that bandwidth of, that early evening, like, that 7 to 8 period, that's still kind of open. We could even do it in some, because that would be a nice time when it's just,
You could have a glass of wine.
we could have a glass of wine. Like why not? I think I could use one right now, actually.
Okay, put your thinking caps on, be creative, and let's co-create this. Thank you.
So now, are you going to show them the?
I am. And one more quick announcement, and then I'm going to show them the other surprise. Glenn called this in, I don't know how many weeks ago, but over the weekend, Quincy said to me, Mom, I want to volunteer for Good of the Whole. I would totally volunteer to be the administrative assistant, but she has another job, but I want to give a couple hours, well, several hours a week. She said, I want to give an hour or more a day to Good of the Whole as an administrative assistant. And to me, she said, and to you for the book, for the radio show, for the, so part of me and Kevin went, she gets back to New York, she's not gonna have any time. Right now she has a lot of time because she's at the lake and she is working from home, and it's fine. Once she starts commuting to the city again and is back, I said to Shelley, gosh, I don't want to say yes because the support might just drop. And yet Shelley said, let her do it while she can. And then maybe she could train somebody else to come into that piece. So, so Quincy would like to volunteer to do some administrative assistant work for us. So,
Yay.
Does she know anything about Shopify?
what?
Does she know anything about Shopify?
Not yet. The one thing that I know would be really good is having her get on a Hootsuite and create more social media interactions. Getting our Instagram up and going, and YouTube. She's like gets a lot of the other social media that we don't have active, and so that's one thing. And number two, I'd really like to teach her the behind the scenes on Nation Builder right now, so we're not losing people in the cracks as they're coming on. We have a lot of new people signing in, and I can't get the thing off the main site. Like I would just want them to sign in through our internet Constant Contact, and I can't get the thing off. I need to call Nation Builder.
Well, actually, this is the piece that I think it's going to be easier. I just have to sit down for like a hour and a half period, and Linda has offered for me to give her the Excel sheet of all the mentoring stewards, and I'm going to, when I see the support, the new mentoring stewards come in, this is just the first step. I'm going to just shoot her the email. This is what I do with Loving Waters. Just shoot her the email, and she's building the list, and she's keeping awareness of it. And I think we could have alongside of it just bringing in the names of just anybody who's just signing in and just keeping a list. So
well, they need to get into Constant Contact. That's what's important, is we need to bring those that are just signing in without becoming a mentor and steward routinely have to get added into Constant Contact so we don't lose them. Oh, Shelley has to.
Must be some way to do that easily.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So
Julie?
Yeah.
My son, and this is like the next phone call I really need to take. So
I'm just going to show him the surprise and we'll close.
Love you all.
Okay.
You're awesome. Awesome.
See ya.
See you, Shelley.
So, I'm going to show you a surprise. Let me cue it up before I do this. Hang on one moment. Shelly was like, ah! Okay, gotcha. Okay, so as I cue this up, so I've been working with lots of other, I'm like the outside when Shelly's like the inside of what's happening with the connection field and Good of the Whole. And I've been working with different organizations and what have you. And this just came into our awareness today by a woman. And I don't know, I need to do more homework. I can't remember if she's in the UK or if she is in the States, but it doesn't matter unless I find it really fast. But I want to show you what happened. Not gonna, oh, I almost had it. So I'm going to share this screen. This is, oh my gosh, can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Marie Claire magazine, online magazine. This woman, Sarah Vaughn, is the purpose and sustainability advisor for Marie Claire. So she is one of the core members of the Whole World View with Jude Currivan and Gail Agnew. And she fell in love with the connection field. She was asked to host an hour. And so here's what happened. Sarah Vaughn on staying resilient in challenging times. This is her article, just came out the 21st. And I'm just going to scroll down so you can see her little thing. Here's how to stay resilient. Manage your money. Eat well. Exercise. Hang out intentionally. And now, under hang out intentionally, first paragraph, whether you're self-isolating alone with housemates or your family, it's good to hang out with others and go beyond four walls. An amazing organization called Good of the Whole has started the Connection Field, a global service project to provide online community support and connection because no one should feel isolated, alone, or just woohoo! So, and she goes on with lots of other links. So we just made it into Marie Claire.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what Marie Claire is?
It's an online magazine, and I don't know what their purpose is. Let's see if we can do it. I've heard of them forever. Do you know, Linda, by any chance? News, fashion, hair, beauty, shop. I mean, it's a magazine. Entertainment, shop, beauty, more. Let's see if they have a purpose statement here.
I have heard of it, but I've not really done
I thought it was a makeup company.
Oh, no, it's a magazine. It's but this is their online version. Let's see if they have an about in here.
That's great, Julie.
Yeah, it's like
awesome.
it's like a woman's magazine. It's like a Good Housekeeping. So
Beautiful.
ta-da.
Momentum.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Glenn, what are you going to do for your birthday now?
You know, it's been an awesome morning for me with all of you and others, and I got a dozen phone calls to return to people. And John, I may miss our men's group today. We'll see.
It's okay. There'll be others, but thank you.
There'll be others, and I need to work on Shopify. You guys I don't know if you know, but I did a Shopify account, and so I've set up an account. I started a store called Goods for the Whole. I had to give it a name, so I looked at a bunch of names that were already taken around Good of the Whole, and Whole Goods, and that sort of thing. So I settled on a store named Goods for the Whole. We can probably change that somehow if we want. And I'm trying to figure out how to build a Shopify thing by watching some of their trainings and tutorials, and I don't know, and then we'll start loading in a bunch of our products that we all have and see if we can't create some place to generate some revenue for good of the whole.
Beautiful.
And one of the things that I thought about is we could, well, I don't know, we'll just see how many products, but I'm guessing we could literally have hundreds of products that are goods for the whole. And we could connect good of the whole into a number of different affiliate organizations that have affiliate marketing plans, so that if we like a product that we feel like meets our criteria for social impact, we could have that on there, and if somebody buys it through our link, we'd make 10 or 20% of whatever that purchase is, without ever inventorying the product or just by linking them together. So, and we can do that with courses and classes and programs and just all sorts of things, I think. But I'm just in a learning mode, and I've never done the store before, so I'm just start where we are and taking a step at a time.
Thank you.
I think that's wonderful, Glenn, and because it sounds like broad enough that almost anything that people bring forward could have a venue for, just like my friend David, who's really gotten, I mean, he's head over heels in love with Good of the Whole now, and he has this beautiful artwork. He wants to get it on the page, just but a guy like that could bring his artwork and put it up for sale on the site.
That's right. Goods for the whole, and we would take a percentage of that and do good work with it. So I mean, we're really our own. We're a social impact company ourselves, and look at all the things that we're expressing. And so,
I'm going to send some, and I'll put it in the digest too.
So I'm sure we've got literally hundreds of products that we could be making people aware of. And just in line with our purpose of elevating and supporting those things that are good for the whole.
That's awesome.
Whatever they are. So,
thank you, Glenn.
including Julie's book.
Yay.
Workshop that she's going to do.
That we all might do.
And we all could do. I mean, it could be. It's really unlimited. So I just have to kind of get my head around how this all works and how we can integrate in with other people like Mark Porteous and his work.
Oh, and the Shift Network and Mark Porteous, and there's tons.
Different classes, and we can score a little percentage from people who want to do those classes and learnings.
It'd be great if we knew somebody that had something like nightwear for children, like pajamas or something like that.
Oh,
Good, wouldn't it?
good idea.
I could make something. I don't know what they're at,
I'm taking this all in. In fact, if it's possible, can I be in that conversation? I would like to listen in when we're talking to, it was earlier about setting up with Elizabeth? No, not with Elizabeth.
Loving.
Yes, with Loving Waters and how to do that. Because I'm just, Pachamama Pajamas is just right there, and I'm learning by listening and just feeling into where that goes. So believe me, it will launch. I don't know when, and I don't know how, and what my part will be, because hearing about this is, that I would be responsible for XYZ, and I want to learn more about exactly what I would be responsible for.
And I'm happy to have infinite conversations.
I know. You go have some birthday cake and not worry about that today. Yes, John.
What?
You were going to say something.
No, I was just going to say, again, just to finish it up, happy birthday, Glenn. It's really, I'm glad we've become friends.
Yeah, we got a lot of work to do.
We have a lot of work to do. It's good.
I need your construction experience too in our Ohana thing. I mean.
Yeah, I wrote down what you said, and I think that's a great idea, and we could talk about that.
Step at a time, but I know there's a lot that goes into this, and I've never, I've only built my own houses. I haven't ever had a construction company.
Yeah, there's some great alternatives there. What a great team. Thank you all so much. Hey, Julie, can I ask you one question?
Sure.
Glenn, I am such a numbskull when it comes to computer stuff. And I don't even know how to get on. I mean, if Glenn's been my savior, he comes on and then makes me the host. Can you throw up Good of the Whole on my call tonight, and that way I can just come on and come off of that as host?
Yes, I'll open the page for you, and then I'll make you a host.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I will be happy to do that. I would love to do that.
All right, good.
I'm going to set an alarm to make
Do
sure.
you ever have goddesses come into your men's group?
The very first night, Nahid came on,
That's what I heard.
and it was a shock. I had no idea. All of a sudden she was there, and we kind of made an unwritten rule that it's just men
Yeah.
for right now.
Yeah, because I know when we have women's circles, we want it to be women's circles. And
Yeah.
it's not about separation or division, but there's a certain energy that you create, and you want that safety, and you want that. So I was wondering if Nahid had shown up anymore.
She did, and she made a case for herself about her inner masculine being powerful enough to be with any man, basically. But it's not about that. However, I've done this before in the past. I've led many men's groups. At some point, having a women's group, and we used to do this. We used to hold Native American ceremony, and the women would do a sweat lodge, the men would do a sweat lodge. We would on different parts of the property, and then we would do a ceremony coming together into the center fire, and that's a beautiful experience as well. I mean, I would be totally up for that, but the energy field of the divine masculine within men says something, at least, because a lot of guys are just really learning their power, and with themselves, let alone with a woman. So,
Just as a little side note, it was very interesting for my women's circle when a transgender woman,
remember you saying that.
and we for the first few times it was like, how do we talk about a woman's body? How is this relating? But we've come to love her, and she's just amazing, and she has taught us so much.
Yeah.
And it really opened my eyes to a world that I would never relate to or have related to. Although there's a lot of gay women, and it's been quite interesting to have a transgender woman in our women's circle.
I'll bet. Yeah.
Hey, another question just came up for me to ask is, do you guys feel okay about Julie moving forward on filing the DBA with the Ohana Legacy Foundation?
Oh, I'm totally up for that. I think that's awesome.
It's the door opener. I mean, it's got to start somewhere, and I think starting with someone who's on the council right here is perfect. And it's really opening the door for me to see, how do I work Pachamama Pajamas in that? Because I want that to be totally with Good of the Whole.
Okay.
As a DBA.
We still have a conversation coming up Wednesday, I think, with the CPA, potential CPA to work with. We're sorting it out, and then when she files, she has to file the first one because she's got all the basic info about the address and you've just got there's just some basic stuff, but it's really a 5-minute form to fill out with the state of Nebraska. And once we do one, then I'll have the template and I can do that for others, so you don't have to be hassling with it. But I don't know what's our official address for Good of the Whole. Who knows?
I mean, I've even thought, I'm sorry. I've even thought, we're talking about the two things, Glenn, DBA and your product online thing.
The store?
The store, both. And I just, whatever it is, just like Men in Connection. I used to do men's groups in Washington, Oregon, Montana, Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. And so if this thing goes, I could be a DBA, Men in Connection, and go to different places, because there are people from all over the world showing up, not let alone just in the country. And if it grows at all like the way our connection field has grown, there would be an opportunity to go to different places, And then we're talking about a good sum of money, and as a DBA underneath, within Good of the Whole, it'd be a nice income for everybody.
Now,
Oh.
how does the men's group generate revenue?
Well, I mean, when I used to do intensives, I would do a 3-day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I think at that time, this was 10, 15 years ago, but it was $750 per man for the weekend. And I would get a, you know, and it wasn't big, anywhere from 10 to 20 men. Okay.
Oh, men's
But-
intensive kind of thing.
What's that?
Like a men's intensive kind of thing.
Men's intensive. Yeah. Yeah.
Does this fit in with the Mankind Project at all? In some
No.
way? No,
No.
totally different.
Totally different. This is just my thing. Because I had contacts in different places, and they would set it up and I would come in and do the work. And it just grew. You know, it started small and it grew, but then I moved away from that. But yeah.
Well, the question, how do we do that virtually, like what we're doing now, you know, in terms of having a special event?
Yeah.
Virtually.
Yeah, could, but it's a little bit more difficult because, you know, we had a lot of contact, and we had fire ceremonies, and we had 4 directional pieces and sweat lodges. And so it was really part of being in that, you know, a couple of them, all the men would get naked and that type of thing. We probably couldn't do that online.
Yeah, probably.
Why not?
Yeah, well, and then we invite the women in. No.
Right. Well, you know, things are evolving, so we're figuring out new models and new ways to do it, and so.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, right? It's possible.
We have to figure out a virtual book tour and how that's going to work.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
I think that's a great idea.
Well, I made a note. I'm going to call our bookstore here in town, Boulder Bookstore, they hold, it's just like, if Julie, you could come here, we could get you signed up to do I think 3 or 4 times a week. Some author comes in with their book and holds readings and offerings. And I've been to some where 50, 60 people show up. So I'll call them and see if they're doing any virtual things or if they'd be interested in doing one.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah.
What about libraries? Would that mean anything to you? Or would you prefer bookstores?
I think that bookstores attract a different kind of people, and libraries are, I don't know. I never thought about it.
Well, bookstores have mailing lists.
Yeah. And they're more generating funds and revenue, and yeah, it's just a different kind of, yeah, I don't know what kind of mailing list a library would have, or if they'd have a special event, or I don't know. Bookstores, yes.
Well, there's 2 in Denver. One's the Tattered Cover in Denver, and then the Boulder Bookstore, the 2 big outlets. Marion's spoken at both of those places with her book.
Cool.
Northwest Indiana doesn't have any bookstores anymore.
Yeah, there's not so many bookstores.
Yeah.
Another thing I just thought about, another thing that's big around the country, and I know I always hear people here that book reading clubs where they pick a book and they get together and they have meetings and read the book, you know, and so your book would be an awesome thing for that.
Yeah, online in one of our connection hours.
What'd you say?
Online, in one of our connection fields. You know, the Julie read the book hour.
Read the book hour.
Chapter a day.
Chapter a day or
Chapter an
once a
hour.
week.
Yeah. That's
Well,
pretty
what do you
cool. I'm excited. It's pretty, I told Shelly, it's kind of like I was so busy with Good of the Whole last year. I did not do any book promotion. I did not, you know, I wanted to do a tour. My niece wanted me to come out to Denver and go to Mile High Church and go to the Tattered Bookstore and go there. My other friend is up in the Northeast and said, I want to do a book tour around here and let me help you. And I didn't do anything. And so this just kind of shifted everything for me. It was like, wow, that was cool. This is better than doing anything last year. It's like, my friend says, you're a Nautilus Book Award winner. Send your book to Oprah. I'm like, oh yeah, right. She goes, no, seriously.
Why not?
How do you think that Oprah gets her books? Like, send it.
Yeah.
Buy my seals and get the seals on the book. It's cool. We get these little Nautilus seals and
Yeah,
pretty
very
cool.
very cool. Now,
Julie.
something else just emerged. Oh, go ahead, Linda.
Well, I have a question for Julie. When we were at the CCC, you were applying to do a TED Talk, and I was wondering whatever happened to that.
I got invited to audition and didn't make it, and I haven't applied since.
Now is the time. Now's the time with your awards and your books.
Yeah. I think I've missed all the deadlines for this year, but it'll be interesting to see if they do them live. I don't know. With COVID, I don't know.
That's right.
But I missed Nebraska already. But maybe I could come out and do it in Boulder or Denver. Omaha's kind of conservative. I don't know.
So the emerging thought that I had when we were talking about Denver is that there are emerging New Thought churches. There's this whole New Thought alliance with Beckwith and Lindquist and others, I guess. And one of the thought came up to me is that one of our aspen trees, or maybe even several of our aspen trees, could be Center for Spiritual Living, Nebraska. Or the way that I have a friend that just went on the board of the national or the international Centers for Spiritual Living, and being part of that here in Kauai, each center is either tied to the mother center for their 501c3-ness, or they have to create their own. And we could be a home for maybe even whatever's next after the Centers for Spiritual. What's the new spiritual emergent thing after CSL, after Unity Church? That's kind of what Temple Hayes is working on in Sarasota. Well, what's that next thing? And we could be a home for a week, for a number of different, actually, weekly online, what we call church services, but new thought thinking events that happen on Sundays. Or
Yeah,
any other day.
I wouldn't call it a church service.
No, wouldn't call it a church service. No church, nothing. But what is next after Unity and after Centers for Spiritual Living? You know, that what's next? Maybe that's up.
Holy Mother Love.
Holy Mother Love.
Start with a W.
I got asked to teach at the United Nations for the sustainability goals, so the SDGs.
Right.
And it was initiated by the Interfaith Network. And so about teaching about the SDGs from a faith-based of that interfaith-based. So that's what you're saying is what's next, because it is the interfaith. It is the good of the whole. It is the not anyone's denomination. It really is holding the whole. The hoop of the many hoops.
Yeah, the Center for Spiritual Hoops.
Well, that means once in a while we'll have a hoopla.
I'm going to the Hoopla Center.
Go to the Hoopla Center.
The hoops.
I gotta go, folks.
Okay.
Gotta go too.
Great.
Okay, bye guys. Love you.
Good night tonight.
Oh, ha.
Happy birthday. And
I will Japa to remove all obstacles.
Oh, yeah.
thank you.
Yay.
Happy birthday.